This mysterious cube has been detected above Texas, and interestingly, according to residents, this isn't the first time that it's been seen. One resident said that this object has been seen 4 or 5 times, and that each time it's seen it usually just sits in the clouds. Those who have seen it have given it the name of the cube, and detail that most of the time it just sits in the clouds before vanishing. These ominous looking objects have led to a variety of different theories to be put forward, although as of right now there's no definitive idea for what these things are. One eyewitness said the following: "It began to get very windy out, and I noticed a small portion of clouds began to swirl and circle in on each other, forming a portal, at which point the portal became jet black." While another user said this: "Me and a few neighbours were outside talking when we noticed a strange object in the clouds. We were all seeing the same thing, a large cube that was just hovering there. Half of the object was in the clouds, but we could make out corners of this thing. I had heard of these reports before my sighting, but I never thought that I'd see it. This thing made no sense, and if I had to guess, I would say that we watched it for around 5 minutes, before it slowly made its way above the clouds, vanishing from our view. Since this sighting, I haven't seen it since." End quote. A man by the name of Justin said he saw one of these cubes above Missouri, saying the following: "I was driving northbound and I noticed a very shiny object flying through the sky, kinda heading in my direction. When I first spotted it, I thought it was one of our local hospital helicopters, because it's not unusual to see them. Once I got to my closest point with the object, I could tell it wasn't trash. It looked like a solid metal cube that was rotating in multiple directions. It had lights around them and I could see them during the daytime, and this thing has haunted me after witnessing it." According to reports, the object was flying against the wind that day, so I don't believe it was a balloon. Plus, the Federal Aviation Administration said they showed nothing in that area. I've never seen a drone like that, and couldn't understand how it would stay in the air with that much wind. I really couldn't tell you what it was." End quote. Interestingly, one of these cubes was seen above White Sands Missile Test Range, an area that's been a hotspot of mysterious activity. Back in the late 1980s, a handful of researchers would come together to investigate and document the case of an Air Force E-6 sergeant that was reportedly the victim of an impossible-to-explain exploration, with direct evidence of a mysterious aircraft sighting to support their claims of strange intervention. Back in 1976, an Air Force sergeant by the name of Jonathan P. Lewitt was reported missing when stationed at the White Sands Missile Test Range back in March of that year. According to a senior officer's report, the sergeant and the senior officer were sent to travel several miles nearby the missile testing area to recover large amounts of debris that were believed to have been the product of used missiles. After a period of time recovering debris, the 2 military personnel split up to cover more ground looking for debris in the surrounding desert, believing that the remaining pieces would be small enough for one person to carry. It was during their separation that the senior officer claimed to have heard the screams of the Air Force sergeant, coming from the direction of where the sergeant had left to go searching for the missile debris. After crossing several dunes that were blocking the view of the sergeant's position, the senior officer claimed to have seen a large aircraft in the shape of a disc, hovering low above the ground. According to the officer, a single long metallic tentacle was coming out from the underside of the craft and was wrapped around the body of the Air Force sergeant as it dragged the sergeant into the craft and then suddenly shot away at a tremendous speed. Immediately after this sighting, the senior officer returned to the military base and reported what happened, but was unfortunately arrested by military officers who believed he'd fabricated the story and had disposed of the sergeant. Shortly after his arrest, military investigators began searching the immediate areas surrounding the missile test range in order to recover the body of the missing sergeant, but were unable to recover any evidence of foul play. Over the next 3 days, the senior officer was held at the military base for investigation and court-martialed for the first degree. After 3 days, however, the body of the Air Force sergeant was recovered 20 miles away from the missile testing range and provided a substantial amount of evidence surrounding this senior officer's claims. The wounds were made with clinical and precise marks, with various areas being completely removed from the body. Despite the fact that the cardiovascular organs had not been removed or collapsed, there was no blood found on or within the body, as if the body had been completely drained from any bodily fluids. Shortly after the body was found, the senior officer was released from custody without charges. So what do you make of these mysterious black cubes? And what do you think happened to Air Force Sergeant Jonathan P. Lewett? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.